Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 435. This is your guide to the geek side, and I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, from beautiful Savage, Minnesota, joined by Charlie Carden from a place on the west side of Michigan.
The west side of Michigan. Yeah, we're getting, I haven't seen it today, but we're supposed to be getting more Canadian wildfire smoke. Todd, has that been coming your way? It's supposed to be from the west. I was talking to Mark.
It already happened.
Yeah,
it already happened. So yes, this is the part of the show we talk about the weather, like a bunch of old people.
We can't
because
it's very organic. I don't even know. He said west, and I thought about weather. I don't know. It's just nuts.
Well, it's always pertinent 3 days after the podcast comes out because the weather's always going.
Oh my goodness! But anyway,
exactly.
No, I'm doing good. Sunday, taking it easy, having a good time.
Perfect. Well, we're going to have a good time because we are joined by a returning secret friend. One of my former coworkers at my current company, that is Mr. Patrick Schneider. He's the Hasbro Global Marketing Director for Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Patrick, thank you for coming back.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. We had a good chat last time, and I'm glad we've got kind of Minnesota, Michigan, and I'm out here in Massachusetts. So, you know, three nice towns, kind of exactly covering the country.
Don't say it. Mbop. Mbop.
We're probably the only three who get that
from
reference.
Massachusetts?
Yeah. I think they're from Oklahoma.
Oh, okay. So
but I just thought MMM. Mbop.
I got it.
Very good. Yes. Well, this will be a fun discussion. We are going to be doing a spoiler cast review of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. But just let you know that Patrick is not going to divulge any secrets here. He's just here as a friend of the show and a passionate fan of Indiana Jones, kind of like I was a passionate fan of joining General Mills because I love their cereal mascots. Same thing with Patrick.
That was
Indiana
it.
Jones.
Which is your favorite, Todd? Which is your favorite mascot?
I love the monsters, and so Boo Berry is probably my favorite.
I called it. I knew he was going to say Boo Berry.
Yeah, and we talked about it before. I don't do a lot of shilling for my company, but they have their first new monster character in over 25 years.
Wow.
It's a female DJ who's undead. Her name is Carmela, and it's a caramel apple flavored cereal.
That's awesome.
I'll have to check that out.
I can't wait. Oh my goodness. Well, even awesome, not quite that awesome, but awesome to us anyway, is us always having a chance to celebrate our awesome Patreons. These are the folks that let Todd, myself, Mark, and a host of other people create cool additional content over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. You can actually try us out for a week. Any one of our tiers will give you access to the different shows that we have. But we always like to pay homage to our top tier Patreons for making it possible. That would be on the Best Buds level, Jamie Prinky. On the BFF level, the awesome Nias family, Sean, Stella, and Henry. My dear friend Missy Merchant and her pal Andy Milliken. We are grateful for you, but again, visit patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Sign up for a week, sample some of our stuff, and feel free to stick around. We would love to have you enjoy what we have to offer. But Todd, I'm usually the one that jumps right into talking about this week's cover, but I'm left without words. 1943. I just don't feel like we've gone back that far.
No. So this is a fun one. So Patrick, since we got to episode 400, we kind of ran out of comics that we could hit that number. So we've restarted with our numbering. So we're at 35. So I picked Prize Comics, number 35. This is from October 1943. It's an odd one, but this one just caught my attention because this title includes characters named Yank and Doodle. They're twins, and also the Black Owl. And the cover is great because it looks like it's Lex Luthor's knockoff riding a Black Panther, and they're in a crystal ball. And it says, Yank and Doodle, America's fighting twins, put the hex on superstitious gangsters with the aid of the battling Black Owl. This issue includes like 8 different stories that are like 8 pages long.
Oh my God.
So you get a lot
80-page book for 10 cents, but 10
one
cents.
Is called one is called Frankenstein Goes to School.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
And they could stretch that out over 8 pages. I mean, 10 cents for 80 pages. I mean, 10 cents was what, like $75 back then?
Inflation.
So it was a lot of money. But yeah, that's awesome. But don't forget, back in the day, people read comic books like newspapers. You'd read them and throw them away. There was no collector's market, during World War II, certainly not during World War II, when this was published. So that's crazy. Who is the publisher?
So I believe it is. I'm trying to find the more information. It's really hard on these old ones.
Yeah.
The publisher is. Wow, I can't even find it here.
Well,
I think it was.
It does say in the upper left-hand corner, IND, independent something. No clue. No clue.
If someone out there in Twitterland or our Discord knows this, please let us know. But Patrick, coming from your marketing background, if someone said, "Hey, Patrick, we can acquire this license with Yankin Doodle and Black Owl," what would you even think?
I mean, clearly the next big thing, right? Like, clearly the next cinematic universe, or maybe weave them into an existing one. I don't know. Lots of potential there.
That is amazing. I mean, and hopefully to acquire for the low price of 10 cents or $75 in inflated bucks. Oh my goodness. Well, who's also aged like inflation, but in a good way, like a fine wine. I am talking about our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb, 123 years young, out there in sunny California, down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine, getting ready to bring us our hot scoops. So let's go.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. As you know, we know that you're a big action figure fan. The Barbie movie is coming out, but I think it's time for you to pitch your idea to Patrick about your own action line of senior action figures. I mean, the Golden Girls are popular.
He's ready.
Just think of all the accessories you could give her, like cranky woman shaking arm action,
a big handbag cat to throw, like the crazy cat lady from The Simpsons.
Oh yeah, many cats to carry.
Yes,
I mean, house dresses. I mean, just think about it.
There you go.
Oh my gosh!
I'll make sure you guys connect on LinkedIn.
Yes, exactly.
We'll be right up there with the new Yankin Doodle line.
Oh,
exactly.
she could be like Charlie's Angels, and she's Bosley. You know what I mean? I don't know. It could work. But anyway, it's Todd. It's kind of a crazy week. The writer strike that's been. Oh, look, I buried the lead. The writer strike that's been going on for 75 days, where the people who produce the entertainment that we love so much are fighting for their financial livelihood in the face of an ever-changing marketplace, has now been joined by the people that they write things for. That is right. The Actors Guild is also on strike for the first time in 63 years that both have been on striking at the same time. Last time was in 1960 when the president of the organization was, Todd, you remember I told you earlier this week who was president back then?
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan, yes. Cowboy of the 80s, my goodness.
So prepare for Fran Drescher as the future president of the United States.
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah, in another 20 years, she'll be president. That'd be amazing. So, it's funny because I was talking with my crew over on the chat that I have for Code 47, our Star Trek chat. And I'm like, guys, we're looking at a pretty dry 2024 for Star Trek content because they can't even think about producing anything at this point. They can't write anything. No one could perform what they wrote if they did. So, and Todd, there have been some really startling headlines coming out of this. There's all kinds of rumors and people going back and forth. There's some really very distasteful things coming from the other side of the aisle that the other side is hoping to starve out the unions, to get them to finally come back to the table. And it's just absolutely awful.
This is going to be an odd one because I think this is a positive for the writers because with the actors, it adds strength in numbers. Right. Because they can't just rely on old scripts that are out there. The actors can act. They can't.
Right. Just grind it to a halt. Yeah.
And I think some of the things that have come out of this is really talking about some of what the actors would like. They would like to focus on residuals in a new world of streaming. When they signed their last contract, streaming didn't exist. So they've kind of been bolting on pieces to an existing contract that isn't really relevant in this day and age. So they're hoping to address that with residuals, because that's what keeps a lot of actors income flowing in past their I guess time with the project. They're also talking about limited use of AI, and it has to be approved by the actor themselves, because the biggest concern would be getting rid of real background people, taking their images and applying to other people's faces.
Everybody turns into a clone trooper then,
essentially. So there's concerns that this is really going to impact people's livelihood. They are just looking for a way to continue their craft in a way that they can make it affordable. I believe healthcare is a big part of that as well. Always. So I think those are the main pieces they're looking at, because they have scale, and that's how they create things like scale. Right. When you hear that term scale of what actors make, depending on your level in the area, it's the minimum for hours of work, whatever. And they're probably looking to update those two things as well, because of cost of living has gone up. Inflation is crazy. And, at this point, I believe the Hollywood Producers Association, I can't remember the name of the body that actually is negotiating this in regards to the studios. They asked for an embargo to basically say, we'll continue talks, but we don't want to halt production of properties. The actors essentially said no to that. We're going on strike. So this is how we've been. The last time we had a big strike recently was the writers in
2007.
Yeah, and that really impacted some shows, but the actors could still act in things that the script was complete. So this is a little bit different. So I'm curious to see where this goes. Streaming is a different body. They probably have a lot of things that are banked, but I laughed because I looked at what the traditional networks are putting out for content, and it is so many reality shows. I mean, and we're doing a lot of reruns. Now, animated things are coming out, and it's probably because they've been produced so long. It's like there's going to be new episodes of The Simpsons and things like that. But yeah, we're getting all of these reality shows. There's going to be a reality Hot Wheels show, which I'm like, I mean, I know they had a Lego Master show, but I'm not sure what you do with is it like they try to take a Hot Wheel and turn it into a real car in real life? Some of those.
No, Todd, it's going to be what we talked about last week. The notorious Hot Wheels guys that you see in the aisles, us figure collectors see that. And like I told you, I went into when April and I were in LA, and we went into that Mattel location, and we were chatting up the two ladies working there. They said the most vicious people out there are Hot Wheels people. They will fight in the aisles. You're like, I want this. It's like it's like two dogs fighting over a pork chop. You know what I mean? It's what it made it sound like.
Yeah, and I know there are two brands. I think they're both Hot Wheels and what's the other brand? Mattel. The Matchbox. I believe those are owned by Mattel, a competitor of Patrick. So we probably don't want to talk too much about them specifically. But with that, Patrick, I mean, from your lens of this, I mean, the way we acquire content, and because a lot of your things are based on licenses, obviously you want things to come out. This impacts everybody, and this, I think, this impacts more than just actors and the writers. It impacts craft service people, makeup, the people that make the sets, and then also licensees like yourself. That so obviously this potentially could limit what you can talk about and when things would actually come out. So I know that's something you challenge already, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done a lot of research into both sides of the strike. From an indie point of view, obviously, your background, my shirt, obviously Dial of Destiny has already come out, so that's safe. But obviously as well, there's a lot of Star Wars content that's been announced in the coming years, and it looks amazing and would love to see it come out. I think Star Wars is in a good position because, classic is so beloved. And obviously we had some years, I think between 2005 and 2015 when it was just animated content, even a few years there that there was no animated content. And our lines, did well. That was the birth of Vintage, the birth of Black Series. So I think we've got a lot of great classic items that would be good for the line, even if content doesn't come out. But obviously, both from a professional and personal point of view, hope that they both sides get it figured out and we keep that content coming.
You better believe it. Yeah.
And Patrick, I'm just gonna you can take this idea and it will only generate more money than you could expect. All I'll bring up is the line of Yaddle.
Yeah, here we go.
Like her own line of, because she was on recently on an episode of Tales of the Jedi,
and it didn't go well for her.
It didn't go well for her. That's true. She met an unfortunate demise. But you know what? The audiences spoke, and Yaddle needs her time.
There's a wave of unsatisfied Yaddle consumer desire out there, I think, is what Todd's batting for. Yeah. Now, that being said, he won't buy anything, but he wants to give you this golden idea. Because Todd doesn't do that. Todd likes to talk and then hold on to his wallet. That's Todd.
I'd love to see a Google Trends.
I don't know. I bought some silly things over the time.
I'd love to see a Google Trends report on Yaddle. I'm guessing it's like recent.
Yes, please.
Maybe a spike when Grogu first debuted.
Oh, right.
There's a lot of speculation about where Grogu came from.
Right, but, the Jerry Springer episode of Star Wars. You are the father.
Pay attention to me. I'll be searching for Yaddle like 24/7 from now, and there'll be a spike.
Oh, bring that back to the team.
Yeah, so we hope the strike ends quickly, because this is people's livelihoods, and we want them to go back to work, because we want them to get paid, and they will run out of benefits, and that's not good for anyone. It's not good for anyone involved, and we hope that calmer heads come forward, because we know there's a lot of money being made, and it's good to share it, because that means that we'll get better content. Yes. We did laugh that I was talking with my wife. We're like, NCIS, that those shows do feel like they're written by AI. Like they took let's look at the last 5 seasons and just take those ideas and come up with the plots. So we're wondering, but most people I think will know AI created content versus, and we saw it with the opening of Secret Invasion. That is AI derived art. And they said they were doing it on purpose because they wanted to feel like it was off kilter, not in a way that was kind of off putting. So I think they wanted to use it in a way to show that this is what happens when things are a little bit off. And maybe I'm fine with that, if long as the artists and everyone are aligned to say that.
Everybody's getting their chunk out of it. So we will we'll circle back. This is going to be more of a topic when we talk about San Diego at the end of the segment. But Todd, we had a couple of trailers this week. Patrick, the first one is up your wheelhouse, as it were, and I rewatched it again, and then I love the YouTube channel, the new Rockstars, Eric Voss. I watched his 20-minute breakdown video right before I came down here, so I don't know how that dude does what he does. He must watch that same trailer 57 times, taking all his notes.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, but yeah, so we're getting Ahsoka, the 2-episode premiere on August 23, so just about 5-6 weeks from now. I'm fired up. This is as exciting as anything that I've seen about Star Wars in a long time. We're obviously going to talk about it quite in depth when Mark and I record Holocron Chronicles tomorrow, which will be out Wednesday, the day after the Tuesday. You're hopefully listening to this, but guys, Patrick, how are you feeling?
I mean, I think it looks good. I'm really excited for it. It's obviously people have been calling the trailer that came out a Rebels reunion.
Yeah.
So I watched Rebels back in the day. It was on when I first joined the Star Wars team back in 2015. And as I mentioned, kind of before Force Awakens, before the sequel trilogy in 2015, it was really that animation that drove the line. So, obviously a lot of love for the Rebels crew, and Ahsoka's an amazing character, obviously has kind of evolved throughout the years from when she debuted in Clone Wars, through Rebels itself, Mando, and now here her own show. I think I've mentioned I'm a big fan. A lot of the way my fandom is expressed is through kind of expanded universes and publishing. Yeah. And so I think I mentioned, Heir to the Empire was how I kind of, really deepened my Star Wars fandom. I think I might have mentioned it for Indy as well, but kind of read all of those.
All those great books.
Yeah. The book, the Unicorn book, the other arc. But yeah, so in any case, Thrawn has always been one of my favorite characters. I'm on record in various places saying Jorith Chabath is the figure I want to bring to Black Series. I think that's probably right up there with Yaddle as things that I don't know if will ever happen. But in any case, seeing Thrawn, for the first time in live action is going to be amazing. It all looks great. So really excited for it. It just looks fun and good.
Now, Todd, you are very famously take a very critical eye to Star Wars, which, I appreciate that. Everybody's got to have a foil. You can't fall all over it like Mark and I do, because that's the purpose of the show we do. But what's your vibe?
So I've really enjoyed Rebels. I didn't love the Clone Wars. It just wasn't for me. It's an era I don't care much about, but the Rebels era was very cool. They had basically all new characters. They delved into the Jedi. We got some closure with certain classic characters, which was cool. And I liked how they incorporated a lot of things. And obviously, Thrawn being brought in is kind of cool because, you know, a lot of those characters from the old EU were like, will they be ever brought back? You know, we want certain properties to come forward. So it's great. And we did meet Timothy Zahn at C2.
That was C2, back in 2020.
And he was, and he was great. And Patrick, someone had created a Thrawn Mutt.
That was so great.
It was amazing looking. It was great. And I've not read any of the books, but I know the passion and all of the great detail they went there. So this looks amazing. I think it's really exciting. That's going to make very Rebels fans really happy because you've got Ezra shown. They showed in the trailer, which is neat. And one of the cool characters that have brought in, and I'm not sure where that character will land from is this a character we've seen before? It's I'm blanking on his name. Ray Stevenson. He's playing a Sith Lord. And as we know, it's Ray Stevenson just passed away. The character is
called Skull, which I thought Skull, like dip. kind of reminded me of Daryl from The Walking Dead. No, I'm just kidding.
So it's kind of a shame that character obviously can't come back with Ray Stevenson. So I'm not sure though, but that's neat to see that. This reminds me of those. There's animatics that are done or CGI cutscenes for the Old Republic, which is a Star Wars online RPG. And I always loved their cutscenes because they're amazing looking. This kind of made me feel that way with this. It's really great. I'm excited for this. Now, I didn't know that David Tennant was going to be in the show.
Oh yeah, he's the droid that you see talking.
Oh, he is. Okay, that's cool. And I also noted that they had the list of directors who will be doing these. So Filoni will be doing a few, but we're also getting Steph Green, who was behind. She did an episode of the Book of Boba Fett. Geeta Patel did some episodes of The Mandalorian. Rick Famuyiwa, The Mandalorian. He's been doing a lot of them. But then we get new directors to this, which is Peter Ramsey, who did Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is very cool.
Wow.
And then also Jennifer Getzinger, who did Mad Men.
Wow.
So I like how we're getting new blood into this as well. So we get some different focuses, different storytelling, which is great. So I'm excited for this on August 23rd. Charlie, do you know how many episodes we're getting?
I would have to double check, but we've had anywhere between 6 and 8 for most of these shows. So I'm going to land on 6, 7, or 8. With the first 2 obviously dropping on the 23rd. So we'll be watching this for 5 or 6 weeks, you know what I mean? Regardless. So very, very, very exciting. So, okay. So moving along, this trailer dropped obviously within the last week because we would have talked about it last week. And Todd, first of all, it's a prequel. So I feel like automatically Todd's checked out. But I could be wrong. Don't want to speak for him, but I know traditionally Todd's feelings about prequels. I can tell you that I checked out after watching this because I was like, this just isn't a cinematic universe that I was really looking for. But anyway, you know what? I want to hear what y'all think. Todd, your turn.
I love this. I thought it's great. And one of the reasons why I love this is because it's from the director of Paddington. Paddington, for everybody in the know, is one of the most beloved movies in it has one of the highest Metacritics. It's well regarded. It's loved, done with care. And when I saw that was the director, I'm like, oh, good. This is actually going to be a good place versus the last time we got Willy Wonka. I actually love the Willy Wonka universe. I read the books as a kid. I love the movie. I think it's fantastic. And I like their take. They're saying, well, how did he get to do this? And this is showing it, but it's doing it in a fun way. Timothée Chalamet was a great pick. He is just embracing it, doing with love. We got the Oompa Loompa in the cage.
That was pretty great. That was pretty great. Hugh Grant.
It's Hugh, and he's like, oh, stop, please. No, I can't. And he's got the little flute. And I'm like, I love the vibe for this. It seems great. I didn't think I would want this because I'm like, I heard this movie is coming, but we've seen nothing of it. Now that I've seen it, this is really makes me really happy because it doesn't feel as weird and goofy as the Tim Burton version, which I just felt like was like odd and off-putting.
I don't think I ever ended up seeing that. When I saw the Alice in Wonderland one, which I tend to in my brain blend those two together because he was just playing a ridiculous character. But yeah, I don't feel like I saw the other one. But I did see this is dropping at Christmas, which I think is extremely perfect. You know what I mean? This is that great family fare. You know, what are we going to do? The kid's off school for a week, and I think it could be a huge success. And you know, Todd and I pay attention to the box office. We do, Patrick. We do a summer movie wager every year between Todd, myself, and our third college roommate who lives in the Pacific Northwest. And you'll enjoy the prize for winning is a plastic PVC bank of Prince Shizor from Shadows of the Empire that I acquired from the comic shop that I've gone to since I was 10 years old. In 1996, Jim, the owner, had it. I went back in 2016. He still had it. He sold it to me for $3, and that's when we started our contest. So it is Todd has never won, but I get the feeling there's a good chance Todd could win this year. He's doing pretty good. He's already
this year.
Yeah. What's that?
What are the bets for this year?
It's looking like, as far as the stats, looking like at least that Spider-Verse will be number 1, and then potentially Guardians will be number 2, but they're kind of neck and neck.
But you all bet on.
Well, what do you mean? As far as we all choose the top 10, and then the point there are points evaluated. Todd came up with the whole thing. He can tell you.
Yeah, it's a great wager. Actually, I just a podcast I listen to, they do the same thing. I'm like, this sounds kind of fun. Yeah. Basically, you have to get the right order, not the numbers. And the closer you get the numbers right, so like if you guess number 1, you get like an extra bonus of 3 points, I believe. Yeah. And then the further you're away, you get less points. And then you can put a dark horse in a movie like Barbie is my dark horse this year, because I'm like, I had no clue what that movie would do, but I'm like, it could be the biggest thing in the world, or it could like flop. So it's definitely we all highly rated Flash, which was a bomb. I highlight Elemental was my dark horse. It was a bomb. So it's just it's a crazy mystery. So anyway. Patrick, I'm sorry. What your thoughts on Wonka, please?
So I haven't seen the trailer. I've seen previous, I don't know if it's trailers or imagery, but I like the idea of it. It's interesting when you said that Todd doesn't like prequels. I actually kind of love prequels, and I don't know what it is about my personality, but you can sense this from my Indiana Jones, loving the TV show and loving the books. I love kind of exploring the history of a character or a world. And one of my favorite series growing up was the Saga of Recluse. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. It was L.E. Modestet.
No.
And he basically told this. Oh, got it. Yeah, yes. He told this one story, and then he went 1,000 years back in the past and told the history of the founding of that land. Told a couple of between stories, then went like 20,000 years in the past. Went like, I kind of like that world building aspect. So that's they're applying world building to Wonka.
That's kind of an angle that I know Todd and I have talked about as a hope for Star Wars, going back to KOTOR, then jumping forward. I would love to see a huge jump forward. They've done it in Star Trek Discovery. They're now 1,000 years in the future and telling totally different stories, and it has been really a game changer for that series. I think that'd be awesome.
That seems
House of the Dragon is probably the most recent prequel we've had where it really people were worried about it and would it captivate people, and I think as long as it's handled well and it tells a different side of the story versus we're just running into everybody's uncle or I like it when they do it. So but once again, this seemed like a fun take, and I'm like, wow, they really nailed it. So I don't know if this is going to have more music in it, like it'll be a musical like the original was with with the cast. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see how this goes, but this really surprised me. If you get a chance, watch the trailer. I think it'll make you smile.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah. All right, Todd, what do you got for Superman?
Yeah, something about all of this negative in Hollywood right now that we've had. It's really fun to see an executive like James Gunn just really embrace everything in regards to the fans. He doesn't shy away from Twitter, which is crazy that an executive would be that embracing and having to deal with all the noise. But he's really been, debunking like when something isn't real or not, or he's been saying, this is who I'm inspired for when I'm going to make all these great stories in DC. And one of the things that he's been talking about is actively the casting process. And we got 2 cast members last week, which we talked about, which I think are spot on and great. And this is by the way, this is Superman Legacy. This is James Gunn's first film. That will be the first film in his new DC Gods and Monsters universe. Exactly. Yeah, this is planned to come out in 2025. Obviously, that timing could change, but at this point, we got an update on more casting people. So for those who are new, David Cornsweet, who's a relative unknown, is going to be Superman. He looks like Superman.
Totally.
Lois Lane, Rachel Brosnahan, who is in the marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She is Maisel. Yes. There you go. She is the lead. She's going to be Lois. So perfect pick for her because of her personality. But then we've got some new casting that came out shortly after this and some really spot on stuff. Guy Gardner, he is the jerk Green Lantern. He goes in head first. He has no control. Infamously punched by Batman, punched out by Batman because he wouldn't shut his yap. And that is Nathan Fillion is going to play this guy. And this is perfect. Nathan Fillion can ham it up. He can do whatever he wants, and he's perfect for this, which is great. Then we have Hawkgirl, which I really like the Hawk people stories because they have a really cool story. We haven't gotten a great take on that yet on the screen, so I think she's a good addition. Her name is Isabel Merced. She was in Dora and the Lost City. Was that Dora? Was that who played Dora?
I feel like we saw that movie. I can't remember if she was Dora. She could have been.
Okay. Then we are getting Mr. Terrific, Edie Gathegi. He's been in For All Mankind, The Blacklist.
Darwin from the X-Men.
And he was Darwin in X-Men First Class. And people are like, they want justice for Darwin because he was a cool character, and he was killed off in that in a really horrible way. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. Mr. Terrific, if anyone doesn't know who he is, he's essentially the smartest man in the DC universe. He has all these creations, and he's just a really smart guy. And his motto is fair play. So he's a really cool character, really unique take, and I'm really glad that he's joining the group. And then the last casting they announced was Metamorpho. So Metamorpho, he is like the master of elements. He can change his body. He's kind of horrific, kind of like Ben Grimm is at the thing, but he can use all of these elements to turn from a liquid to a gas and do different things. He's a really cool character, and it's being played by Anthony Kerrigan, who was in Barry. He was the wacky Euro guy with a weird accent who befriended Barry. A really good guy, but he was also Mr. Zaz, a killer in Gotham. So really iconic looking guy. And he's basically my evil doppelganger is probably the best way to put it. Without glasses. So there you go. But the big part is I love these casts, but the one part is there's rumors about who's been cast, and we've got maybe the Skarsgård brothers, either one
both
of
them.
Nicholas Hoult.
It could be both of them. Yes, there you go.
Nicholas Hoult. And the one that did get debunked by James Gunn was the fact that it potentially could have been, James Bond, a.k.a. Oh my goodness. Yes, Daniel Craig, which I'm like, that would be amazing casting.
No doubt about it. Well, anything he does. No doubt about it. So, well, cool.
So, Patrick, I don't know how you are on DC, but in regards to Superman and Superman getting a new movie after such a gap in all the Schneider stuff, what are your thoughts on these castings?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds cool. Again, I don't follow the DC universe that much, but it sounds cool. I look forward to hearing more.
No doubt. And it could be a very long time until we hear anything more, since no one can write or act at present. Ted, you had a link. Was it something else for?
I do not have a link at the top one. It was just basically the topic is next really thing we want to talk about was San Diego Comic-Con is coming up this week. Patrick, you're going to be there in person. Very exciting. Nothing like San Diego Comic-Con. And I think the thing in the room we can't get around is we still don't know what it's going to look like, because I mean, we'll have comic books, we'll have action figures, we'll have collectibles, we'll have your regular wrestlers who show up, we'll have like old stars who are really in nothing anymore, like Jimmy Walker from Good Times.
Oh my god!
We love those people, and we get those things, and there's supposed to be a lot of panels, so we have some ideas about the panels. And then some of the exclusives are coming. So, are you hearing anything yet so far about like who's going to be there or not, or has that changed your plans at all?
Yeah, it really hasn't. So obviously, we have a panel and we'll be revealing a lot of great stuff. We mentioned before we started recording, but we've announced we're launching our new HasLab at San Diego Comic-Con. So I think 5 days from now, I'm trying to think of the time zones, but 5 days from now, that'll be out there and hopefully zooming up. So no change kind of to our plans. Obviously we don't really have a lot of casting talent in the booth. So we'll be proceeding. But yeah, hopefully the buzz is still there and folks are still excited for whatever is able to still happen.
Yeah, and so, and just if you want to touch on, is there anything that you're going to be? I know there's always the exclusives that you want to buy. I remember I got a couple when I was there. Anything specifically you're going to have on display?
Yep, absolutely. So we announced a few days ago, 4 days ago, we revealed both. We have a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive and also a PulseCon exclusive for later in the year. Our San Diego Comic-Con exclusive is a kind of blown out version of Chrysanthemum in the vintage scale from Book of Boba Fett. So obviously vintage is our 3 3/4 inch scale, that classic scale, world building scale. And we haven't done a Chrysanthemum yet. This will be the first one. He'll be coming to the main line later, as all of our exclusives usually do. But this will be the first chance to get him. We've got a pop-up store so folks can buy in person called The Vault. You can also, it's only for folks at the convention, obviously, because it's a convention exclusive. There'll be QR codes. If you're at the convention, you can scan and have it shipped to your house if you prefer that. So it's basically that character of Chrysanthemum, first time in the vintage collection, with a ton of accessories inspired both from the Book of Boba Fett and his appearance in comics. So that's going to be a cool item. We're going to have a cool representation for both Star Wars, Indiana Jones. We're going to have a lot of the products I have behind me, but everything we've revealed so far shown all in one place. Great Star Wars display. Once that HasLab is revealed, we're going to have that out as well. We'll have a display for Young Jedi Adventures, which is the preschool show, which my kids love. So it's going to be great. I'm going to be there on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
How exciting. That's awesome. Yeah. Like I said, somebody over on that G.I. Joe team. I'm looking for one of those chuckles. I'll shoot you my address.
I was going to say, how big of a suitcase did you bring back for all the things you're going to buy there, Patrick? Because I mean, it's hard to ignore. I'm assuming you'll get to go on the floor and see everything too. Anything that you're, So with that, is there anything like you're really excited to see that's not tied to your business, like that you're excited to look for or meet?
I mean, usually it's a lot of the stuff related to kind of, talent and upcoming entertainment announcements. And, we occasionally are able to go see some of the panels. So like at Celebration, I was really lucky. I was in the room for the showcase panel where they revealed, we were talking about prequels where they revealed the 3 upcoming Star Wars movies. And one of them is James Mangold, set 20,000 years in the past in the Dawn of the Jedi. And so that is what I am usually really excited for. We'll see what happens there. But, they work us pretty hard. So I'm going to have to make kind of a mad dash for any product I want to get.
Nice.
It's good. It's good exercise. So,
very cool.
Yeah. So, but as far as going back to talking about the strike and that atmosphere, we know there's fear of not only a lot of those panels happening in San Diego, but myself and my wife April and several of our friends are headed out to Las Vegas at the end of this month to go to Star Trek Las Vegas. It's the first time I've ever gone. Our friend Missy, friend of the show, has gone for many, many years with her family. Over almost 150 actors are slated to be in attendance, but since the strike has started, there's a lot of quagmire around exactly what is going to happen and what panels can happen. Missy and Kay, who's another one of our talent here on the network, are scheduled to do a Star Trek and psychology panel. That's something I certainly hope and is still going to go down. But as far as what these folks are able to do, and same thing applies back to San Diego Comic-Con. I think a lot of it is just balls in the air. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's kind of a scary time.
Yeah, and I was just going to go through some of the panels that we're supposed to. Well, as far as we know right now, are supposed to be there. So I'll just go through these really quick, and if any pops out, then let us know. But first, Team NT, Mutant Mayhem, that movie's coming out in a couple weeks. Oh, that's going to be.
That's the last one on my bracket, Patrick. We were telling you about that. I have that one as I think my number 10. Big fingers crossed that it's a hit.
There you go.
Yep. Yeah, so we have The Wheel of Time. This would be for season 2 on Amazon. Twisted Metal, which is that new wacky
with Anthony Mackie
PlayStation. That's going to be coming out because that series actually comes out in 2 weeks on Peacock. What We Do in the Shadows with all their actors, that show's back on now. They're supposed to be there. Archer getting a panel.
We just did an Archer over on the Facts Geek Life. Can't wait to roll that out.
Yeah. Then there's a Good Omens season 2 panel, which is a great show. If you haven't watched it, it's fantastic. This is David Tennant and I'm blanking on his partner's name.
The Masters of Sex guy, Bill something or other. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
Yes, they are going to be there as well, talking about season 2, Walking Dead universe. Walking Dead's always been a huge part. Apparently, they're going to have a bunch of things, especially talking about the new Daryl Dixon show, the Rick Grimes movie or series, whatever they're calling it now. Then the Continental, which is a spinoff of John Wick, going to be a TV series about the hotel. And then let's see, Gen V. This was going to be a spinoff of The Boys, which that will probably be what we get next, maybe. Then we have a Futurama panel because Futurama's coming back again after a long hiatus. Yeah. Legendary Entertainment, who does their big producer of films, Monsterverse on Apple TV Plus, which is part of the Godzilla Kong area of
the Averse
content.
Yes.
Then the Star Trek universe is going to have a panel as well.
Probably doubtful, but yes.
Yeah, and then Quantum Leap. A lot of these are tied to actors and things like that. Totally get it. But the panels I love, which aren't listed here, are like comic book creators. Right. Everybody else in the sun, cosplayers will be there. So regardless, if like before, like I don't know when it happened, maybe 2008 was really when San Diego Comic-Con became like all international. But before that, it was comic books. It was people showing
since
up.
1971, man. That con is over 50 years old, and it was just Todd. It was when Todd and I first met. It was the fall of 1995, Michigan State University. We got on our bikes and rode from our dorm to the convention center on campus because there was a Comic-Con in the basement, which was 500 long boxes and just guys going. And that's how San Diego got its start. You know what I mean? So from humble begin. I wonder if you can buy a comic book there now. Are there any actual comic books? No idea.
I think there are.
Probably not.
I think there's a whole comic section still. It's still.
Yeah. So Patrick, I hope you have a good time. But one of the other fun things that you talk about is what you'll be having to offer all the folks that come to San Diego Comic-Con. It's one of the best things in the world to get something you're looking for, get it and enjoy that. So one of the companies I really dig is Mondo. They're known for their really weird, wacky one-offs, and they do some odd things. They have a lot of different licenses, and they do things at a different scale than obviously your company does. And they're big into the X-Men animated series, which is so funny that is kind of like taken off as like a big thing. Yeah. So like that 90s series. Yeah. So they're doing some high end, like $200 action figures. I know Hasbro did some lines that were like a bigger, like 13-inch, I think at one point too.
That was like $5.
That were more like the $60 range, which I tell you, Patrick, might be a good idea to come up with some of those mega lines.
I'll let the Marvel team know. We tried our track as well with Hyper Real.
Okay.
I remember. I didn't end up getting one of those, but I did glance.
Oh, that's right.
The Star Wars. It was a center. It was Luke. There was Vader. Yeah, I didn't end up picking that one up.
Yep. Yeah. You and some other folks.
No, I'm sorry, Patrick. I didn't do my part.
Good point. Yeah. So we are getting X-Men animated series Magneto. It'd be 6 scale, which is pretty cool. Neat that they do all the different heads and stuff. It's a really cool looking line. We're also getting that with Wolverine, basically his Logan outfit. Yeah. Then we're getting an odd one, which is funny. It's Master Universe Prince Adam, same scale.
So weird.
With just
Cringer.
It's so weird. That's really fun. Well, he doesn't come with Cringer, I don't believe, because that would be a lot more expensive.
Nor does he come with Man at Arms as you're scrolling through these.
What is the classic line? Sold separately.
Yes. Oh, you're thinking of Waylon Smithers' Malibu Stacy musical, Sold Separately.
Or Batteries Not Included. Another one. Then Batman the Animated Series, Man-Bat, very cool character. And then other than that, we are getting some weird other characters like from Godzilla and the weird Rodan, which if you remember, he's like the big pterodactyl looking thing as well. So these are some fun ones you can get. Obviously, these are a little higher priced, higher end, which Mondo does. So look for those there. I would love to see them. And that Prince Adam one is an odd pick. And they even got the one where he's laughing. He put his head where he's just doing the weird laugh. So love it.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, cool. Well, unless I'm very much mistaken, that does take us to the end of the line. The news is over, but there's still so much more fun to find. Down at the Geekies, you got to get out that feeble Uber app. Get us a cab to go down to Nastyville, where the establishment awaits, so we can talk about what we're enjoying this week. So let's do it.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerd it to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover band's playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. So, Patrick, in all of the world of nerd, what are you really into these days?
Yeah.
What's got you geeked out?
Yeah, so it's not something new, so it's not going to be a new find, but you've mentioned it a couple of times. I actually have never watched The Walking Dead. My wife, so it's I'm in a lucky spot now. My wife knows I like to wait until shows are done because I don't like, you get all geared up, especially Walking Dead. There's like cliffhangers at the end of every season. Yeah. So like waiting months or years and then I forget what happens. So I wait until they're over. So I've been waiting a long time on Walking Dead, obviously, 11 years. So I started binging it a few months ago and I'm currently in, I think, season 6 or 7.
Gotcha.
The Saviors have just,
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Perfect timing with Negan. Yeah, with his show that he has with Maggie.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing goes right for that group. Like, they really can't catch a break, which I guess, to be fair, it is a zombie apocalypse, so there's not a lot of breaks.
What's going to go right?
Exactly, yeah. So they got rid of the governor, and then, I was like, all right, they're set now. And then the
wolves. It was the wolves.
Before that, it was the Invictus or Incubus, or it was the
Incubus.
Cannibals.
The rock band?
The Cannibals.
It was Terminus. They were at
Terminus, exactly. Terminus, and then the hospital in Georgia. So I am happily making my way through. I'm watching it by myself. My wife has no interest in zombie shows, so watching it myself. But it's great.
Watch it with kids.
There you go, exactly. My 2 and 4-year-old.
Crunchy,
and then I'll be responsible for soothing them in the middle of the night when they have
there you go.
The
zombies are outside my window. Click, 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 click.
So I'm excited to see that through.
If you aren't quiet, they'll come and get you.
Zombies only get little boys and girls that don't go to bed on time.
I'm good, exactly. So I'm excited to watch that through. And then obviously there's many different routes to go down with Fear of the Walking Dead and all the different spinoffs.
Yeah, so, my wife and I have been a fan of that. We've been together 10 years. We've been watching it together that whole time. And we go in and out of it, but we did a rewatch from the beginning, and we finished either the day before or the day of the finale.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was like magnificent. And we had seen it all, but again, going back 10 seasons, you don't remember every wiggle and weird, and now we're on to the next thing. And then my wife has watched Fear of the Walking Dead kind of without me. Then she sucked me into it. The Dead City is on right now. The Daryl show is going to come on. Rick's show is going to come on. So it keeps going.
It's great as long as it's good. I mean, I find it really compelling. So, let's see.
And you luckily have the luxury now. If you're like, it's feeling a little slow, you can always find out hey, what episodes can I skip to move on and get to watch the recaps. Are always good.
It hasn't been. I don't know. I've read that there are some slower seasons. They're all pretty good. So
that's true. Yeah, you are. You do end up coming on a slower patch, not far where you're at, but where you're at right now, very intense.
They're right in revenge mode there. They've decided the whole thing where Rick decided to just be passive. I was like, this can't last. So he's changed his mind. They're building up their forces with the high top. Why am I blanking?
Hilltop.
And the kingdom. So it's good stuff.
The Tiger. Awesome. Awesome. Good deal.
Well, I don't want to give you more homework, but the comic is an excellent book, but it's long.
It was 175 issues, Todd, by the time they were done.
Wow, really?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I just really enjoyed it. And the fact that they adapted it so well. Robert Kirkman's fantastic.
Big time.
That's what I've heard.
Gotcha.
Cool.
All right, cool. All right, Todd?
Well, this is kind of an odd one because I don't even know how I found this. I guess it would be because I have a antenna on my house, so I can actually watch local TV, and I can record it on my Roku.
Serious tech.
Which is nice. So I can watch my local news, I can watch local sports, that stuff. It's pretty cool. It has that Roku app, so you can watch it anywhere. It has a DVR, so it's really cool. And one of the things that came on, it has the CW network as well, because it's a local network. And they have this thing called the 1982 The Greatest Geek Year Ever. And I'm like, what is this thing? So I looked, and they were the CW is showing it in 5 parts. So it's originally a documentary that came out, but they're cutting it up into 5 pieces in different segments. So I watched the first episode as how they put it out, and it's more like science fiction and fantasy, which is really cool because they made the point to say 1982, if you look every genre, everything that came out, it is probably one of the biggest years for genre and geek culture that we've ever had, because it wasn't just, I mean, E.T., like literally
Across
probably
the
the
board.
biggest movie ever. Then you also got like just things that you weren't like trading, not Trading Places, that Eddie Murphy movie with Nick Nolte.
48 hours.
48 hours.
Yeah. 48 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, just some of the things you had in there that I didn't even think about. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Classic.
You know, Saturday Night Live with Eddie Murphy.
Right.
You had all of these different things, and I love this. And you're looking back, and this one's more tied to the science fiction, fantasy side. So you had a lot of Steven Spielberg stuff, because not only did Steven Spielberg make E.T., but he also executive produced and almost directed Poltergeist.
Wow.
I mean, he brought in Toby Hooper for that.
Flick.
Yeah.
Great flick.
Big thing.
I absolutely deride and would say 1984 is the greatest geek year. And I think Patrick, as an Indiana Jones man, may be on my side here.
Maybe. I mean, Temple's good, but we're not getting any Star Wars in the mix here. As a more recent year,
because that's 83. Yeah, 83, right?
As a more recent year, I've always felt 2019, like, not that they all ended super well, but end of the Skywalker saga, end of the Infinity Saga, end of Game of Thrones, like, a lot of big culture conclusions.
Yeah.
But considering, I mean, because we get so much geek entertainment, but back in 82, I mean, you literally got so little things, and the fact that you got even Charlie, Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan was the same year.
Yep.
I mean, we're hitting on a lot of stuff here, and it's really cool. And the greatest thing about this, and it's essentially they're bringing in actors, directors, you know, journalists, people that were in some of these projects, like Dee Wallace came on for, you know, talking about E.T. It's really well done, and it's it just makes me feel like a little again, because and it's also showing a lot of the old footage of like the newscast, like people are around the movie theater waiting to see this, and that's where Blockbuster came out, because they were around the block.
Right.
Great series. And it's on the CW. If you have the CW app, you can watch it. It's for free. I mean, I would recommend it if you want like a time capsule.
It's worth checking out. Like I said, I will steadfastly defend 1984, Ghostbusters, Temple, Beverly Hills Cop. I don't know. You know, I could go on, but
it's kind of interesting, but they did cover kind of a lot of different areas. What made you think that way? Hey, Charlie, Megaforce came out in 1982. That ends the argument right there. Barry Bostwick as a Mad Max man driving a motorcycle that flies.
Didn't Mad Max come out in 82, or was that? No, that was 79. Anyway, we could go on.
Anyway, The Thing and Blade Runner also came out that year. So think about
all right.
Huge year for everything. Yeah. So check it out on the CW app. I think you can even buy the documentary, but it's really great. Yeah. Like, I love these type of shows, so they're fantastic. So then Charlie and I will just touch on, Patrick, have you seen Mission Impossible? The most recent one?
I have not. No. So.
Yes, Todd. It was called Mission Impossible, the most recent one. Hard to fit on a marquee.
Sure. Part 7.
No, but feel free to
Dead Reckoning.
Speak about it however you want. Yeah.
We won't spoil it, but Dead Reckoning Part 1, because it's a Part 1 and Part 2, which is funny because, Charlie, I was thinking about this. This summer, we're having 3 movies that are ending at cliffhangers going to a Part 2.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
We had Fast X. Spider-Verse. A lot of people didn't realize Spider-Verse was a Part 1, and then we're getting this as well. I don't know if we've gotten that many like Part 1. I mean, Harry Potter was the last one where we essentially got that. Right. Star Wars movies have been kind of more like
Dune
as well. Oh, that's right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So and both Spider-Verse clocking in at 2.5 hours, which is very long for an animated film, I think, and this clocking in at 3 are long, but both of those films, this one included, I think, made good use of the time. I didn't feel like this film really slowed down at all. Some absolutely spectacular sequences with all the action. Tom Cruise, I read this in the jump at the end, which is in the trailers. So we're not going full spoilers here, but the jump that he does off of that Alpine mountain, he ruined 7 motorcycles pulling that off. 7 motorcycles, and did the stunt himself with the
I ruin 7 motorcycles every week.
Exactly. Yeah, you bet. He's got a garage full of 300 motorcycles. Unbelievable. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But I dug this, and Patrick and Todd, of course, I've always said I have a complicated relationship with Tom Cruise. Personally, not a fan of who he is out there in the world, things he's done in Scientology or whatever, but his body of work, and I changed it, but I had noted earlier, I watched, my wife is out of town this weekend, so I watched Born on the 4th of July for about the first time in about 30 years. And actually it was in my Fandango queue. I picked it up at some point. And there was, of course, Oliver Stone film, and he plays Ray Kovic, who is a Vietnam vet who was paralyzed over there. And again, a very long movie, and I was nodding off by the end of it, but it was so riveting. I think my wife doesn't really care for it because her dad is Vietnam vet, so I totally get that. He is a true artist. The things that he does, even if he is a real life whack-a-madoo, he is. But so many of the great artists throughout time have been a little questionable in the day-to-day. But I thought this movie was absolutely fantastic.
Right.
Yeah, he might be our biggest movie. He might be the biggest movie star of all time. I mean, I don't know.
Could be.
I mean, because you think of maybe Harrison Ford, but
or Tom Hanks.
But Harrison Ford has a lot of gaps where he did nothing at all, and a lot of his movies didn't deliver on box office. Like The Witnesses is probably where he was nominated for an Oscar, but that wasn't a big blockbuster or anything like that. I mean, he's been in a lot of franchises, probably more franchises than anybody else because he had like Tom Clancy books and things like that. So he's all over the place. So it might be between the two of them, but I mean, it's kind of look at how Tom Cruise considers, his career, and said he wants to be doing what Harrison Ford's doing all these years at 60. I mean,
you'll see that you'll see him doing a motorcycle jump at 80. He'll just explode in the air. That's how he'll die, like a warrior on the battlefield.
Didn't Tom Cruise have a gap too? Like 15 years or so ago. I remember at the time Tropic Thunder was kind of his.
Oh yeah, in the late aughts. Yeah, because
I think he had a big publicity problem. I think that's why he ducked out for some time.
Yeah, you're right, because he had some films in the early aughts. He had like Vanilla Sky and stuff like maybe the samurai movie. And you're right, he was kind of out for a few years.
Minority Report was a great movie. I will say my favorite Tom Cruise movie is Edge of Tomorrow. If you've not seen it.
Good.
It is amazing. My son loved it too. And,
I will stick in its non-genre, but A Few Good Men will always be one of my absolutely
really
favorite
good too.
films.
Again, not genre.
Yep, some good stuff. On this movie, this is probably my favorite Mission Impossible movie, which is crazy after 7.
Yeah.
I just loved it. There's scenes in this movie that I'm like, holy crumbs.
Yeah.
They did that?
Right.
Holy cow. And it looks realistic. It doesn't look CGI'd. It doesn't look like...
I didn't feel there was a lot of CGI happening in this film. Of course, there were bits and pieces, but it was. I feel like it was done in ways that were subtle, and there wasn't. There was a bit of de-aging because you saw some of the establishing stuff with Isai Morales, who plays the villain. But not done so heavily to the point to think that Tom Cruise is really, doing the parachute and crashing through the side of a train and jumping off the side of a train and doing all kinds of stuff with the train. It really does feel, even the train, the final fate of the train, which again, no spoilers, was pretty stunning. I would highly recommend it if you're a fan of the series at all. Yeah, I would go check it out.
Yeah, it's highly entertaining, but this one might be, depending on how much free time you have a movie, it's 3 hours long. That's so it delivers. I did want to make a note because I was saying this movie is like the Superman to Fast X's Bizarro because
you did say
this
that.
is
it was very good.
They did a lot of they filmed in Rome, both, and in the Fast X one, they're basically it's like it didn't feel real at all. It felt like their chases felt like you knew there was no realistic filming happening because they're being chased by a 300-ton bowling ball essentially down the Roman steps and things like that. I'm like, and then there is a huge explosion at one point that's very similar to the other movie. And then where this movie ends, same thing with Fast X. It's like, it's just so hard to compare the quality of one to the other. I'm like, Tom Cruise, though, he demands quality, and Vin Diesel likes paychecks.
Yeah, Tom Cruise, and again, he's an artist. I will give him the props for that. Yeah. He really does deliver, even so much that I just am not crazy about him personally. As an artist, he's Picasso chopping off his ear. There you go. Picasso chopping off his ear. That's my Tom Cruise analogy.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. Well, I will, before we roll up on out of here, I will touch very briefly on Secret Invasion, which is, of course, it's on Wednesdays on Disney+. Patrick, are you watching it all?
Well, like I said, we wait until the end. We've watched every other Disney Plus Star Wars and Marvel show, but we're holding on. It looks great, though. I mean, Nick Fury, can't go wrong.
We'll keep it super spoiler free. Todd and I have been talking for the last couple of episodes. It's very peaks and valleys with this show. We can't really land, but we had a nice big reveal in this one, and then an absolutely awesome set piece with action that wrapped it up with some stakes that were delivered. So we have Todd. We've still never looked. Are there 6 episodes or are there 8 episodes? Okay, so we got 2 weeks left. So Patrick, you got another 2-3 weeks, and then you'll be watching this
when I'm back from STCC.
Yeah. So but episode 4, I think, what was a high point for me. I think that they really did it.
Cool.
Yeah, I think this is one. I normally am not a defender. I'm not a binger. I'm like, you can binge it when it's done, because I mean, you only get one chance to really roll something out and really make a mark. I think this is better as a whole piece versus individually, to be honest, because I think it took a while to get started, and that might lose some watchers. Right. So I think you're going to be in a better place than we were. I think, Patrick, if you watch it.
I think Andor, is that what you just said? Yeah, Andor was very much like that because they rolled out the first 3 episodes on the first night, and you're like, well, if they would have rolled off this first one, I probably would have checked. I would have checked out because it was just you're just not grabbing me. But by the end of it, Todd, that's been one that you said Andor is your favorite Star Wars. Anything that you've seen in recent years?
Well, I love Rogue One. I love Andor. Something about that, but Andor lost me. I had to come back to it again,
exactly.
I'm like, I'm like, I just don't get it because everybody's like, but once again, everybody's clamoring saying this is one of the best things. It got me. It's so funny because it got me with the episode where he went to prison.
Oh, when they had to jump. They had to jump in.
I'm like, everything before them, like I could have not watched any of that when I got to prison. Like that's when the show just delivered.
I mean, the first 3 episodes, obviously a slow build. The heist episode, the conclusion of that arc was amazing. Yeah, where he goes to prison, but then obviously the prison break, No Way Out, that was amazing as well.
Right.
Like, I mean, again, like I think there's something in all the recent Star Wars Disney Plus content. Like it's not all uniformly excellent, but that's why I'm excited for Ahsoka. But obviously the return of Vader and Obi-Wan, the Mandoverse stories, but Andor, just the quality is amazing.
Yeah, so, it was a cut above. A cut above.
Have your kids watched Visions, Patrick?
No, they're pretty young, so they're 4 and 2. So
they're on the Jedi Adventures.
There's a couple episodes your kids would love though. One's by the Aardman team, and it's adorable.
Very true.
It's cute. There are some very cute episodes within it that I think are watchable.
Check it out. They're both very much COVID kids, so a little cautious. So we've been watching through Toy Story, and there's some scary moments there.
Fair.
So they're a young 4 and 2.
I hear you.
And there is the new Star Wars kids show too.
Right? The Jedi Adventures.
So they love that.
Nice. Good deal.
Cool.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up. It's time to get out of the Geek Easy. Skip out on the tab because I think they spit in our drinks as always. But I'm getting out my Air Qantas app. I'm getting us first class tickets, business class, to the land down under. A hologram Tina and the mutants await us to talk about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Let's go.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or game to be entertained. And this week, we are talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. We're going to have a good discussion here, folks. So get ready. It's been a couple weeks, and we held back because we wanted to have Patrick on because he's a passionate fan. Charlie's a passionate fan. I'm a little less passionate, but I've enjoyed this series. So we'll get hopefully some good takes on this and what they thought. I actually saw the movie with a huge Indiana Jones fan. He's not a typical geek, but he is a movie geek, but he's not like into science fiction and fantasy as much. So it was great to hear about that and his excitement about Indiana Jones and how much he loves it. Before we get into the pieces, I just want to give you a little bit about this movie. It was directed by James Mangold, who was known for The Wolverine and Logan. And I also believe he is tied to do called the prequel of all prequels with Star Wars going back 25,000 years. So he's going to be doing that film. This was written by 4 people. Quite a list of people, including James Mangold. David Koepp is also a well-known writer who's been involved in things. This is starring a small indie actor, Harrison Ford, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Antonio Banderas, John Rhys Davies, Toby Jones, Boyd Holbrook, Ethan Isidore, and Mads Mikkelsen. Budget, no one can figure out the budget on this film. It was between $295 and $400 billion. What's $100 million between friends? And current box office at this point, $302 million. I believe that's international.
Global.
Everything combined, global. Yep. And just to give everyone, if anyone's can't remember the movies and when they came out, I'll just give those really quick. Raiders came out in 81, Temple of Doom 84, so that's a 3-year gap. Last Crusade 89, that's a 5-year gap. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, that's a 19-year gap. And then Dial of Destiny, that is a 15-year gap. Between them, to tide you over, you got Young Indiana Jones Chronicles from 92 to 93. All of these are now available, excluding the movie we're going to talk about, on Disney Plus, because there's a weird Paramount ownership of some things,
it's
which
Lucasfilm.
means that
it's Lucasfilm, right? That's
Paramount gets a cut, I guess, ongoing now. So Disney essentially gets the rights unfettered, but Paramount now gets a cut of the revenue, which is kind of very interesting. That's where we're at. And one of the things I'm excited about in the franchise of Indiana Jones is we're getting a new game for Xbox coming in 2024. And I'm not sure, Patrick, is that something where you've been involved in video games with a licensed property like Star Wars? We had, what was it? The most recent Star Wars game, the Jedi Fallen Order. Sorry. They've done characters with that. I know The Force Unleashed. I know they have that character. Star Killer is also. So I'd be curious to see if you probably can't speak to it, but it'd be kind of cool to get characters from the game as well as to get some figures out to really extend it. And I know, Charlie, we have not gotten Indiana Jones comics in quite some time.
I went back and checked, because when I knew this film was coming out, I thought this is going to be my opportunity to grab that omnibus, the one that came out in 2009, still selling for hundreds of dollars on the back market. However, I do have every single issue of that classic Marvel Comics series stored in the box in the closet in my bedroom. So I will always have it. But I would love to be able to purchase it digitally, so I could just like with my old G.I. Joe comics, I could still panel flip through reading them. But I would say maybe someday. But based on the performance of this film, I'm fearful that it might not come to pass. But I'm glad I have my old paper copies, because I love it. That was one of the first comics I ever read.
Very cool.
Patrick, did we mention this last time? Because I think it was like we were maybe begging you for just someone to pull someone's ear over at Marvel, or because Marvel does publications, all that, to basically say, can you get this out there for Charlie? Can you just do it for Charlie?
Yeah, absolutely. I will put in a call.
Okay, I like it. That would be great.
Very good. Well, let's get into the actual discussion of the movie. Like I said, we said a couple weeks ago, I only saw it once, so I'm probably not going to have as many of the details memorized. So Charlie is typically the man who memorizes everything. With that, Patrick, you've seen the movie, obviously. I know in the times back in the day when I used to work on promotions for General Mills, we would get previews and things like that. Did you see it with the uncleaned masses, or did you get to see it as a preview?
Yeah, so we don't usually see films like too far in advance. We get plot downloads and we get assets, and so that's how we're able to build the line. You can see behind me, I've got our adventure series, Indy and Phoebe, and obviously we launched those. We revealed those at Celebration in London a few months ago, so we get those assets ahead of time. We don't get like an early screening, but I was fortunate. I was able to go out and see the premiere in mid-June, so got to see Harrison and Phoebe and Toby and Mads and all of the rest of them that I guess feel like I can call by their first name. But so got to see it then, and then saw it a couple weeks after that as well with my team. And so really loved it. Thought it was a great film.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've seen it twice, Charlie. You've seen it twice.
Yeah, we went out and saw it the next weekend. Actually, had to pay for it because my wife and I have the VIP membership to the local theater chain. You can see 3 movies a week, but we had pre-bought ahead Oppenheimer and Barbie. So I went to go see Indy again, and they're like, "Nope, you got to pay." But we went on the 4th of July on that Tuesday, and so it was only $4 for each ticket. So, but yeah, no, it was really, really great to go see it a second time. But yeah, Todd, how do you want to handle the breakdown?
So if we want to just go through kind of like, we don't really do pros and cons anymore. So we kind of like just give your overall thoughts and kind of like, and obviously as we'll talk through this, we can just, do a round robin. But with that, we will trigger some things like, oh, what about this part? So with that, Patrick, you're the guest. So what's your take on this movie after all the Indiana Jones you've ever seen in your life, all of your childhood memories? Where does this land for you?
Yeah, so I liked it, and it's interesting. So obviously I saw it at the premiere, came back, and I talked with one of my old bosses, and I certainly caveated I liked it, but I also really wanted to like it, if that makes sense. Obviously, we're professionally linked with it, and he talked about certainly he's in the past seen things, and he was like, that was amazing. And then a couple months later, he's like, what was I thinking? But I really loved it, and then loved it again a second time. And I think, we'll unpack all of this, but, you know, they could have certainly gone a route of just having another rollicking indie adventure, but you know, Harrison Ford is 80. Indy in the film is 69 or 70.
Yeah, 69.
Not knowing
70,
where
no,
in
70,
the movie
yeah.
it is, because he's born. I think he's born July 1st, 1899.
Right, and this was the moon landing, so we're actually it's just it's right around his birthday.
There you go. So yeah, right around 70 years old. You know, I think it would have. I enjoyed the richness and the deepness of the narrative of like this movie about aging, and you know, he certainly kicks some butt in the movie. But you know, he's not invincible, and I enjoyed that. I loved kind of the journey he went through. The ending, you know, I assume we're kind of spoiler.
Oh, absolutely.
We're spoiling at this point. So the ending with Marion coming back in, you know, I thought that was very appropriate. I thought, you know, obviously there were all these rumors, right, about time travel, and that ended up being the case. As I thought about it afterwards, I don't know how you could have had the villains that you did without having a time travel aspect, given that it had to take place in the 60s or 70s. So I actually enjoyed that fact. I thought Helena was really cool. I really enjoyed the opening sequence. I know that the de-aging is polarizing. It seems like the industry assessment is that this is the best ever they've seen. And I mean, I think the imagery of Indy, like in those first 25 minutes, like, I don't know if you put that next to a scene from Last Crusade and ask someone who hasn't seen the movies, like, to guess which is, you know, real and which is de-aged, if they could tell it. The voice obviously threw me a little bit, but
that was a tough part. I agree. And then if you look at, if you think of it, so that was 1944. We had Indy in 1938, and so he would have been 39. So then you're tilting forward 4 or 5 years. So you know, 1989, add 5 years. So what did Harrison look like in 1993? He was in The Fugitive in 1993. So really, if you look at Dr. John Kimball in The Fugitive before he had the beard, or after he shaved the beard, versus him in this movie, that would be quasi analogous. And I didn't feel like it was that far off.
Are you talking about the scene where he visits Toby Jones again?
No. Talking the whole intro sequence. That scene where he visits Toby Jones. Think about him in
Crystal Skull.
Yeah, think about him in Crystal Skull. You got it, 2008. Yeah, because that would have been 1949ish.
Because that's closer to, you know, the way he probably could look.
Obviously, again, as like a Young Indy fan, Harrison Ford is in an episode of Young Indy. He's supposed to be 50, but that was shot when he was shooting The Fugitive.
Exactly.
So it all crumbles a little bit.
He had a beard.
Exactly.
I watched that episode. It was The Mystery of the Blues or whatever it is. I watched that about 2 months ago because I thought I wanted to kind of tee it up, and I thought, well, if I'm going to pick one episode to watch, I'll watch the one that Harrison's in, and I thought he was great. Todd, it was
jazz man, right?
Yeah, but he had a Native American artifact, and he was trying to escape, you know, people chasing him, and they get stuck in a cabin. That he finds a saxophone, and while he and this Native American gentleman are waiting it out, he tells the story of his time in the Roaring '20s, meeting who are the jazz guys that he met. Patrick, I'm already forgetting.
Sydney.
Louis Armstrong.
He did not meet. It was
maybe something like that.
Benny Goodman.
But it was Jeffrey. It was Jeffrey Wright who played the character. So,
and it's an interesting episode because the first half is like just kind of his exploration of the blues.
Yeah.
And then he kind of leaves that all behind because then it turns into a murder mystery of him with his roommate Elliot Ness, of course,
that's right,
and his good friend Ernie Hemingway from World War I. So,
and didn't he date like the girl that was supposed to be like Nancy Drew, like the inspiration from Nancy Drew too?
Oh yeah, earlier in the show.
So crazy.
Yeah, Mata Hari when he was. There was just. I would love to sit down and knock that show out. But anyway, back to the movie. Yes. Well, yes. Wait.
Well, this is a celebration of all things Indiana Jones at this point.
Since this is the end, I'm in the same camp with you, Todd. I know you love Temple of Doom. For me, I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed Temple of Doom. Sorry, but I put this. You know, I put this probably third for me in the 5 films. You know, Raiders is. I saw Raiders when I was 5 years old. One of the first films I ever saw in the theater. Will always be my favorite film. Without a doubt, Indiana Jones is very special to me because of that. Last Crusade, you know, the interplay between him and Sean Connery. But this film, particularly as we get older and we, deal with loss, I mean, really struck me. I've lost a child. I had a son that passed away a few years ago from illness, and then to look at Indy and his loss of nobody was really missing Shia LaBeouf, but you're missing the character and kind of feeling that and how it and how he describes how it destroyed his marriage and all that. I mean, it's just very, 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 very tough and personal. That really spoke to me. And then to see them reconnect at the end, and again, that was having known Indy and Marion when I was 5 years old, and they had that romance in that film, and to see hey, love endures. They found their way back together. I really appreciate that
completely wholesome love affair with him and a very underage girl.
He was 25 and she was 15.
Raiders, it was fine.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
we had this is on Hasbro Pulse, but we actually had a conversation with Karen Allen and John Rhys Davies. Which was super cool. And we were joking about eventually an indie prequel film that shows kind of that relationship. And we're like, maybe not.
Maybe. She was in high school and he was not.
Yeah, I agree. Like for me, actually, Last Crusade is my favorite film. And I think that's partly just I have a bit of a contrarian nature, and I don't like to, obviously Star Wars Empire is everyone's favorite, so I go with a different one. But I like you said, the Sean Connery aspect. Also, the Grail. I read an article recently that broke down, and this is kind of funny, that all of the indie films are about them chasing after these like super powerful objects that none of them do what you think they're going to do. So like the Dial of Destiny, like clearly didn't work out the way Jurgen Voller wanted.
Right.
Crystal Skull didn't work out for Arena. But it was saying that like the one artifact that could actually give you powers, the Holy Grail, you like build a hospital there that can heal anyone. You get a lot of power that way. So the Grail as an artifact, I think, was pretty compelling. The whole River Phoenix scene, obviously, as a young indie fan, that intro giving birth to that. So Last Crusade is my favorite. Then Raiders. Then I think Temple and Dial are tied.
Yeah.
It's funny because they mentioned the fact that half the time, if Indiana Jones didn't get involved, the enemies would have gone badly for them anyway. Yeah. So it's like,
you're right, because in the end, it's a non-starter for all the protagonists in this, because that's what happens to Elsa at the end when she falls in the pit, and what happens with the Lost Ark and all of them there and getting sucked up into the sky.
The Sankara stones, maybe that would be the only good thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, if he hadn't showed up for the Sankara stones, that would have turned out very differently, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And they were theoretically.
There we go. So see, that's why it's my favorite movie, because he had to do something or nothing good would have happened.
He made a difference. So, So let me ask the tough question of you guys: Why isn't this film more successful? What's lacking that this is not? Because Patrick, we've been talking about the movie wager that Todd and I have with our roommate John. This was my film of the summer. I thought, man, this is going to be the one, and it's not the biggest failure, because that would be The Flash. But why is this film not doing well? What's the scoop?
Interesting. I was reading recently, and you guys talked about Mission Impossible at the start, and that I think actually had a domestic opening lower than Indy, which has shocked everyone. I believe domestically lower, internationally different story. But I think just the entertainment industry, like, it's still just a different world from pre-COVID. Again, we were talking earlier about 2019. Like, how many billion-dollar films were there in 2019? I think there were like maybe 5 to 10. It was a lot.
Big time.
Like, we're not Guardians, obviously Super Mario this year. We'll see about others. But so I think the entertainment landscape has just still shifted, and people are figuring it out. I think one other thing with Indy, and, again, I love the TV show, is that unlike Star Wars, it doesn't have kind of that Star Wars, especially recently, the past 20, 25 years, there's always been Star Wars, right? Like, it keeps it in the pop culture, it keeps it in the zeitgeist. Indy hasn't necessarily had that, and so it's a nostalgia movie. But there's, the three of us, I think, are in our 40s. Like, people under 40 don't have that same nostalgia.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I would say without a doubt, that's what's certainly preventing even the first viewings. You know what I mean? Yeah. It could be, Dad or Grandpa is, dragging dragging the kids to see it. When Todd and I touched upon this, when we both first saw the movies, I told the following story in the row where my wife and I went to go see it. There was a younger couple they were directly next to April. And then further on down the road down the aisle, there was a woman with like 7 or 8 kids. And I was like, interesting combination. So as always happens, I got up, I had to go to the restroom. As I'm walking back, I didn't really pay any mind to the kids. They were being quiet. But as I got close to the younger couple, I'm watching the guy with his eyes wide and he's super excited. And then I'm watching his girlfriend, who could not be more bored in her life. She's sitting like this.
Oh, no.
I was like, that could possibly completely encapsulate what I'm talking about here, because maybe that young man grew up watching it with his dad, Raiders of the Lost Ark, his grandpa liked it, his brother, his older cousins, whatever it is. But for this young lady, there's no connection, because
you haven't had it handed down.
Yeah, because Crystal Skull was 15 years ago, and
I think.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I think there's a lot of when it comes to franchise care, Patrick, about making a brand evergreen, keeping it, taking care of it, and trying new things to rejuvenate it. We just saw Grimace have a birthday with McDonald's and how big that got. I mean, regardless of how you feel about it, but I'm like, that's what you do. And I feel like Indiana Jones, like, I don't know what drove that gap from 1989 to 2008. I don't know if it was like Lucas didn't want to be involved in it, Spielberg was doing it in other projects, and not having then something like a animated Indiana Jones series. There were some video games, like no comic books, like you mentioned. Right. And it became like, okay, so what drove that gap? Which could have, if you had put some things in there, would you get other future generations involved? Because it's the concept. I mean, it's and other people have been doing that. You had the Uncharted series, which is hugely successful. You also got the Tomb Raider, Lara Croft. I'm thinking other people picked it up because people wanted more of that. And it's a shame that we didn't have that. And I would say my son had no interest in seeing the film, which I didn't expect it anyway. He's not a big film goer, but a lot of parents are taking their kids. Yeah. So maybe there will be a rejuvenation. The problem is, at this point, I don't know what else we're getting. If we are getting anything else, it'd be cool to revisit a TV show or do something like that. We're going to get a new video game, which has been announced, but it would be curious to see how they can make it more evergreen, maybe bring back young Indiana Jones, and not have to worry about who you cast. I mean, Alden could be doing it if they wanted to. Right. That'd be perfectly fine as well. Yeah.
Star Wars. I mean, when's the last time we didn't have Star Wars? Like, it was.
I remember, Patrick. That was that horrible gap from 83 to
97 when the
we had publishing. To your point about comics, there was publishing all in the
comics,
and even after 83, there was the Droids animated show, the Ewoks animated show,
Ewoks
really
movies.
That 5-year gap, and they've driven content. Yeah. And the other thing I think is that I think the Cannes strategy didn't pay off for them. Yeah. And obviously I'm speaking kind of as my own individual here, but I think they saw what Top Gun Maverick did last year and saw this as a similar movie, right? Like a legacy film with nostalgia, and pursued the same strategy. And I've read that it's kind of a different class of critics at Cannes. And so, I mean, the Rotten Tomato scores and the other metrics have come up drastically since Cannes, but that group didn't love it, and so that just kind of poisoned.
Yeah, it was a point. Yeah, that is tough, and it's tough to put the toothpaste back in the tube at this point when the public has moved on to the other big films that are coming out: Mission Impossible, Barbie. Yeah.
Summer is always the worst time to have a slow build because and I don't know how long this movie will be in theaters because of Disney Plus will be going there. Typically, they go about 3 months. Yeah. Maybe they'll hold out longer and let it have legs and let audience still discover it. Because I found this summer when there was a movie I wanted to watch, it's gone so quickly, and I would have seen it, but I was too busy catching up with everything else. Right. So we'll see how this goes. I mean, myself, I like the movie, but I think the Crystal Skull soured so many moments of this movie for me that I felt like it could have done so much better. And if they had made this movie 10 years ago and then maybe did something else, because I feel like what they did with Marion, I liked how they finished it here versus in Crystal Skull. That felt so inorganic, the way they got married out of the blue and everybody's happy.
They hadn't seen each other in 25 years, so it's just, let's just get married. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I did enjoy the movie quite a bit. I like the fact that it ended the way it did. We had that, will he die or won't he die?
Yeah.
I liked how that finished when Phoebe punched him in the face. I mean, that was a great moment. I enjoyed the opening. Now, I felt there were too many chases on little buggies. I wish they had mixed that up a little bit. I'm like, we're doing this again?
A lot of little buggies. And a lot of thrilling moments, you know, the horse on the subway platform and, you know, in the aisle, and then riding down past, you know, the ticker tape parade. I mean, those were all moments that we had seen from the trailers. Those were really thrilling.
Banderas.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Antonio yet.
I was so confused by him. I'm like, is that him? Oh, it's him.
Yeah,
okay. And then he had such a small role. I was like, oh, I thought they were going to do more.
But he got a figure in your line, Patrick, which I will admit I didn't pre-order. But
there's still time.
I was going to say, I did just pre-order my Map Room Indie, the Target exclusive, because that is my favorite piece of orchestral music on earth, is that Map Room theme. So can't be without him. But you know, I would love it if I got a little miniature of him to be able to stand in front of. I had that when I was a kid from the old Kenner line. Wow. You were talking about Kenner.
We do have our
I know. I didn't end up doing that. So if you want to just toss that in the mail to me, I'll give you my address. And I'm just kidding.
All good.
Now, and you know, one of the things I thought was weird, because I thought I liked the setup. What I didn't understand was the federal government, along with that one agent who was there. She was brought in. I thought she was going to be a bigger part of the movie. Right. And then they just kind of said, oh, goodbye. See you later. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that felt a little funky. And I did enjoy the last set piece. What is the ear of where they were in the cavern. It was the ears of
the echo.
Yeah.
That was, I thought that was some really cool, so I thought it was cool. Some elements. The one part that did make me laugh, they kept on not killing Indiana Jones. I'm like, every time they kidnapped him, it went right. I'm like, you eventually got to kill him, right?
The gunshot wound that never killed him. I mean, he was shot essentially in the lung, and he goes for another 25 minutes of the movie, and he's like, oh, I'm not feeling so good. I'm good, even though there's blood running down his shirt. So I was watching the pitch meeting of this. We love Ryan George's pitch meeting. And yes, Phoebe managed to deck him, put him back in the plane, flew back through the aperture in time to that airport, take him to a hospital, put him on another plane, get him back to his bed in his apartment in New York City. With this gunshot wound. It was incredible. He is an incredible man.
That's good script writing. That's good script writing.
But it all happened off camera.
And I will say that obviously a lot of people are like, time travel, it's sci-fi, it's too much like Aliens. Like it worked for me. Like obviously things
I didn't mind it.
Things have always gone bonkers at the end of Indiana Jones movies. So
right.
I think the people compare it to Crystal Skull because it's both sci-fi. But I don't think the reason Crystal Skull didn't work because it was too sci-fi.
It was the monkeys. It was those monkeys.
Oh, the monkeys. I hate the snake scene where he's like, call it something else. Call it something else. I'm like, Indy doesn't like snakes, but he steps up at the end of the day.
Yeah, let's not beat it to death. But all of the MacGuffins, or as we called it in a previous episode, the egg MacGuffins that are in Indiana Jones movies, if they're not sci-fi, they do have that mystical, otherworldly, supernatural bent. The Lost Ark, the Shankra Stones, the Holy Grail. It's all, you know. So it's all potato. So I don't look at it and say, oh, it's too sci-fi. Yeah. You know, and it's great that the Dial of Destiny didn't turn out to be a time machine, but it was this fantastic, you know, roadmap like any other map, like the Staff of Ra and the headpiece and, you know, the miniature of the city. Very much the same kind of thing. It was, you know, clues left, or the collapsing idol temple at the beginning of Raiders. You know, it's just all these clever little asides that were, you know, like somebody really devious thought up, like, let's have a temple with shooting darts and everything. So all the things that make Indiana Jones great. So I feel bad that this film didn't do well, but I think this, as we've all kind of talked about here, we understand why. You know, that the real element of it that was missing is that there's more of them, the young people, than there are of us, and those who are older than us. You know what I mean? And then this was a member berries kind of moment. You know, and there wasn't enough of a draw. I was happy with Phoebe's performance, which was great, and she had her little pal Teddy, you know, and it could have,
short run.
yeah, they could have tilted it a lot more heavily into it. And we're setting up a spinoff, you know, the Start Your Engines. I'm glad they didn't go that route. I didn't feel like, and now we're going to follow adventures of them and blah blah blah. They were just characters in this movie, and they did their bit, and the movie ended, and satisfactorily, I thought. So yeah, they went off to get ice cream. It was great to see Sala. I loved Sala's kind of story of coming to America and how Indy helped him, you know, escape the tyranny of the war and everything. It was great to see that character get another arc. So no pun intended. Ho ho.
Yeah, I mean,
so with that, I guess I think Charlie, you and Patrick both gave your rankings of the films then. I can give mine really quick. So it's kind of weird because it's not necessarily in regards of quality. It's really regards of like the ones I enjoy the most. Yeah. So Temple of Doom would be my number one. It's just the movie, the first one I saw, I connected with Short Round. It was, for me, it was great versus connecting with an old guy doing some things. So it would be Raiders, then Last Crusade, Dial of Destiny, and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And it's not because Dial of Destiny is not a good film. I think it's a good film. It's fun. It's just not better. Yeah,
there's others that are better.
It's hard to get Harrison Ford to be younger, except by digitizing his face. Right. He's going to be limited, and that's one of the challenges. Like I said, I wish this movie had been 10 years later, or 10 years earlier, maybe.
Absolutely.
When he was actually 70 versus now 80.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I think this made 10 years earlier, and this 20 years earlier.
Right.
Like
exactly.
Yeah, because he was always 10 years too old. In the original films, he was a year or two older than the character was, but he had in the last two films he had 10 years on, and so it just doesn't work the same.
Yeah. But I'm very happy, like my friend Samir, he made him very happy. He had just lost his dad, and you know this put him back in a very good mind space, which is great. And it made him smile. So, and I think it's great for the mega fans to get once again one more opportunity to enjoy that world. And I hope this isn't the end. Like, we're gonna get a video game. I hope we get novelizations. I hope we get comics. I hope we get more things where we can bring out more characters and more adventures with Dr. Jones.
Well, I would love to see all things in entertainment are ongoing. Star Wars came back after its gap from the zeitgeist with new characters. This could be rebooted someday. There could be a new Indy, but if it's 20 years down the road, hopefully we'll all still be here. We'll still be doing the show. Todd and I going rah, 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 still griping about stuff. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
Fast and Furious 25. Here we come.
Oh my goodness. Oh, well, that about takes us to the end. Yeah. So, Patrick, oh my God, this has been fantastic. I mean, you're one of the more famous people we've had on the show because I watch you on all those Hasbro Pulse streams. It's awesome. I always say when I'm watching with my wife, hey, I know this guy. But where do people find you out there, if they find you anywhere?
You mean like on social?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not on a lot of social. Again, I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, so they take most of my time. But on LinkedIn, Facebook, that's pretty much it.
Gotcha. Good deal.
And what's the best way to find your product stuff and announcements?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hasbro Pulse is absolutely the best place for all of the news. In terms of the product, Hasbro Pulse is a great place as well. They have all of our fan-focused product, and then beyond that, at all the major retailers, and certainly all of our fan stuff is in all the major fan channel retailers as well: Entertainment Earth, GameStop, Big Bad Toy Store, Dorkside, etc. So if you like what you heard, you like what you see behind me, go out and get some.
Yeah, go get it. Keep it alive. That's how we keep Indiana Jones alive. Figures. Yeah. Todd, where do people find you out there?
At Twitter, trying out Threads as well. But just, it's football is coming soon. I'm a big NFL fan, big Michigan State football fan as well. So more to come. Spring, the training camps are coming. I'm very excited for that. So watch for information there. And I'm going to be building a new PC because we had some hijinks with my PC. So if you have any recommendations out there, Twitterverse, let me know on what I should do to build my PC. And maybe I'll take some video of that and share it with our Patreons.
Very exciting. And speaking of Patreon, you can, of course, find us over on patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Jump in there. It's a 1-week free trial. Listen to our exceptionally fun additional content that we'd love making for you. Todd's got a great new show where he does interviews. I've got a show with a couple of partners of mine where we've talked to a lot of Star Trek actors. I've got a great show called The Facts Geek Life, where we talk about shows of or seasons of classic shows. We just have a lot of good time. So again, patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. We'd love to see you. You can, of course, find me over on Twitter at the C3. Go ahead and spell it out. My lovely wife, April, and I do run the USS Grand Petoskey. That is one of the largest chapters of Starfleet, the international Star Trek fan club in the world. I also run Region 13, which is Michigan and Eastern Canada. If you're a Trekker within the sound of my voice and would like to meet Trekkers in your neck of the woods, drop us a line at a website of the same name or other socials, and we will help you out. So, as always, friends, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the
in
villain.
a truck.
Thanks so much,
No
guys.
time for love, Dr. Jones.
Rack that whip.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.